Hi, I'm Dr. Larson. We're going to continue our series about talking about micronutrients, micronutrients for vitamins and minerals. And I think as pharmaceuticals become more and more the go-to tool in healthcare, there needs to be a greater and greater emphasis and understanding of micronutrients so that that information doesn't get lost, because there's a whole variety of issues, health issues, that oftentimes I think prescription medications are prescribed for when really there's probably a nutrient insufficiency or deficiency that the body is really needing, but yet a medication is prescribed in its place, which is kind of unfortunate because nobody has a pharmaceutical deficiency, but they can certainly have a nutrient deficiency. So it's a little bit backwards. What really should be part of the education of understanding micronutrients, diet, nutrition, and so forth for human health is really not taught in medical schools. So it's pretty backwards in a lot of ways, but it's something that we have to make sure and keep the conversation going around micronutrients so that people really understand why food is so important, actual real food. And as supplements get more and more sophisticated and more popular, I think it's good to help educate people on the right sources of these nutrients if they are going to take it in supplement form. So that's really the goal of this series on micronutrients. And so today we're going to talk about vitamin C. Vitamin C is a very, very important micronutrient. The technical name is ascorbic acid, and we have a pretty long history of understanding what vitamin C is and how it works in the body. And of course, as science evolves and nutritional research evolves, we learn even more about some of these really, really important nutrients. So vitamin C, of course, is an essential nutrient. And you'll recall from past episodes that the word essential goes with nutrients that we can't live without, and also our bodies don't make. Some animals make vitamin C, humans don't. So we have to get it from an outside source, like a supplement or primarily a food. And so we'll talk about food sources of nutrients or specifically of vitamin C. But let's just talk about a little bit about what ascorbic acid is. Vitamin C is a nutrient that plays a part in nearly every organ system of the body. It's one of these very, very kind of multifactorial, multi-acting nutrients in the body. I think most people recognize vitamin C as a nutrient for the immune system. This has been known for a long time. A lot of people recognize vitamin C as something that's good for the immune system because it is. And it helps to support multiple aspects of the immune system, both the innate and the adaptive. So kind of two key components of the immune system, but it's also an antioxidant. Remember, there's this process that happens in the body that kind of accelerates the aging process and accelerates disease onset, called oxidation or oxidative damage. And what we have in our systems to help slow down and buffer that process is antioxidants. Our cells make certain types of antioxidants like glutathione, but also we have to get antioxidants like vitamin C from an outside source. And these antioxidants help to really quench that oxidative stress in the system. In fact, think of things like skin damage. Skin damage is basically an oxidative process. So if we're getting sun in the wrong ways, or we're not having enough antioxidants, then sun can really damage the skin. We talked about vitamin D before and the importance of vitamin D and kind of the formula that you can use to get a healthy source of sun so that you can make your own vitamin D. But vitamin C is also really important. And as we'll talk about some of the food sources of vitamin C, these foods are really abundant during the time of year that we need more skin protection from the sun. So nature's pretty smart about sort of supplying that for us. And humans kind of understanding that these fruits and vegetables are delicious and they look awesome and you want to eat them, and they're loaded with vitamin C, and they help to provide the body with this protection from this oxidative damage. So a lot of people are slathering, skin block and sunscreen, and that could be certainly key in certain circumstances, but we're not remembering that also to make sure internally we have the right nutrients to help decrease the effects of sun on the skin. So that's key as well. It's also really important for certain biosynthesis of other substances in the body, like L-carnitine. L-carnitine is an important nutrient. It has many jobs, but one of them is kind of shuttling fat into the cells so it can be used as fuel. So oftentimes when we're thinking about fat burning, we want to make sure that as we help people kind of boost up their fat burning machinery, we want to make sure that they have enough L-carnitine to help use that fat that gets mobilized. Vitamin C is important for L-carnitine biosynthesis. It's also important for the biosynthesis of catecholamines. Catecholamines are like epinephrine, norepinephrine, or the other name adrenaline. So vitamin C is important for that. Vitamin C is really key for iron absorption. That's why one of the key deficiency signs or even insufficiency signs of vitamin C is fatigue, because we know that the number one symptom of anemia, which comes from low iron and also low other nutrients like certain B vitamins, vitamin C helps significantly with the absorption of vitamin C. At least one study suggested that there is up to a 67% increased absorption of iron when it's also taken with vitamin C. So vitamin C is really, really key for all these important systems in the body. It also helps to kind of promote and sort of recycle vitamin E. So vitamin E, we haven't really had an individual sort of episode on, which we might, but vitamin E is one of the fat-soluble vitamins, which are A, D, E, and K. And vitamin E itself is also an antioxidant, but vitamin C kind of helps to regenerate and kind of recycle vitamin E. So there's this really cool kind of synergistic effect that vitamin C has on multiple nutrients, like we talked about iron and vitamin E. So it's also really important in collagen synthesis and connective tissue. The collagen connective tissues is what, keeps your skin healthy. Like the more sort of aged and wrinkled the skin is, there's a loss of collagen and a loss of integrity to the connective tissue. Vitamin C is important for sort of the matrix that the body requires to support and develop and regenerate that kind of connective tissue. So that's why, let's kind of segue that information into the deficiency. So what happens, so that's kind of the key functions of vitamin C. What happens when vitamin C is not abundant enough? So if there's a deficiency of vitamin C, obviously the classic condition is scurvy, which is not really common anymore. But there's insufficiency signs that can be kind of sub-threshold, kind of low-grade symptoms of vitamin C deficiency. So scurvy, kind of the classic condition of vitamin D deficiency, has pretty widespread symptoms. Fatigue, because we know it influences energy production, that iron really helps to promote. There's wound healing and skin issues, bleeding gums, easy bruising, because all the skin and the blood vessels require connective tissue. And if the connective tissue is so weak, it's very easily bruising. So they can be bleeding, gums and gingivitis, and there's a whole variety of symptoms, skin issues, wound healing, that vitamin C deficiency can lead to. Not only that, I think we all sort of, forever understand scurvy as something that 18th century British sailors really suffered from. In fact, it was the number one cause of death back in the 1700s, especially with British soldiers, that sure, they can die from some kind of battle or sinking ship or whatever, but they were probably most concerned about getting scurvy. So it wasn't until a scientist named James Lind figured out that those who consumed citrus juice, is typically lemon juice, but also lime juice, that helped to prevent scurvy. They didn't really know at the time that it was vitamin C in the citrus fruits that really helped to decrease those symptoms, but that's what it was. And so that's why I think this is kind of a derogatory term, but the British sailors came to be known as limeys, because that's what they referred to citrus fruit as lime. And so they called these individuals limeys, which I think was kind of derogatory. But the reason why is because they needed these citrus fruits to help take the scurvy out. decrease the scurvy. So basically they would add the lemon juice or the lime juice to kind of their daily ration of something called grog, which is like kind of a watered down rum, and then they'd add the lemon juice to it, and that helped to keep scurvy out of their system, which again was totally life-threatening at that time. So so these are some of the key important symptoms and signs that a person can develop if they get vitamin D or vitamin C insufficient. Some other things that vitamin C is related to is gout. If vitamin C is deficient, then a painful joint condition called gout can manifest. And that's because gout is related to uric acid, and vitamin C helps to metabolize out uric acid, helps to reduce uric acid in the system. So those who have higher vitamin C levels are at a lower risk of developing this painful joint condition. And vitamin C is key, like I said, for skin repair and skin support. So even just from sort of a vanity standpoint, we know that aging skin is basically a loss of collagen and connective tissue to the skin. And so really making sure that you're getting sufficient levels of vitamin C could be good from sort of a vanity standpoint. So even if you're not as interested in decreasing some of these other things, just to help support healthy looking skin, make sure that you're getting key antioxidants like vitamin C. So what are some of the food sources? Obviously citrus, we talked about that. So everybody kind of identifies citrus with vitamin C, or vitamin C with citrus. It's also in things like kiwis. It's very high, relatively speaking, in peppers like bell peppers and other peppers. Lots of other vegetables and fruits like papaya and broccoli, loaded with vitamin C. So you really want to get a broad variety of these fruits and vegetables so that you get a good source of vitamin C. From a supplement standpoint, you'll see a couple different things, like 3 different main sources of vitamin C. Vitamin C, since it's an antioxidant, can be used as a preservative in certain nutrients. So you'll see that one as ascorbyl palmitate. Ascorbyl palmitate is a preservative because it has an antioxidant sort of effect. So that's, you'll see that in some supplements. You'll see it as ascorbic acid, which is kind of the classic vitamin C. After they discovered that it was vitamin C in the limes and lemons that were helping to keep British soldiers alive, it was finally then synthesized, I think, a few decades later as ascorbic acid. So ascorbic acid is kind of the classic. Some people at higher level intakes of ascorbic acid is kind of upsets their digestive tract. So you can also get vitamin C in buffered form, and that's usually the form that I prescribe vitamin C is in the buffered form, because you never know who's going to have, you know, adverse symptoms to it. So I might as well just prescribe it in that already buffered form, which makes it a lot more comfortable in the GI tract. As far as like toxicity symptoms, it's pretty rare. Your body's going to get, it's a water soluble nutrient, so we're not as concerned about getting toxicity levels. So really, if you just take, you know, kind of the prescribed kind of normal amounts of vitamin C, you should be good to go. If you really take too much, you're going to get like diarrhea. And so you can kind of take it to bowel tolerance, which is in some people is going to be, you know, probably just a few hundred milligrams per day. But it doesn't take very much vitamin C. We just want to get it consistently. And so, so vitamin C, very difficult to sort of, you know, take too much of. The body's going to sort of balance out. It's water soluble, so your body's just going to excrete sort of leftover vitamin C. Like I said, in some people it can give you digestive upset, or it can lead to some diarrhea. So vitamin C, very key nutrient. I hope maybe you learned something about vitamin C. I will keep reading the studies and bringing you the information. Until then, keep it real.